gentlemen, welcome to week 3 of the weekly roundup. I'm CB alongside RS. RS, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, considering our first bit of news is quite an upsetting piece of news, but we'll get right into that.
Yeah, we're going to start off with a bit of depressing news for anybody who's a comic book fan, a fan of Batman. Legendary actor Adam West passed away last night at the age of 88. He had a short battle with leukemia. I think he kind of kept it quiet because I never heard anything like on the news about it. Adam West, for most of you who know, he played Batman in the 1960s Batman TV series. He was also recently, for the past 17 odd years, he was the mayor of Quahog on Family Guy, Mayor Adam West. What do you think they're going to do as far as the Mayor West character goes on Family Guy?
I think the most plausible explanation would be to write him off, but being Seth MacFarlane is very versatile voice-wise, he may attempt to try and pull off his voice, but it could also be quite disrespectful to Adam West in the same token.
Yeah, and I read what Seth MacFarlane had to say about it, and it seems to me like he is going to go ahead and just retire the character. Maybe because I think they're getting ready to shoot a new season of Family Guy, so I'd have to expect that maybe one of the episodes will be a tribute to him, or maybe they put out some sort of tribute video with all the funny stuff that Adam West had done on the show, because believe me, he was a funny character on that show. Let's move on to some lighter news. E3 got started off today with a press conference from EA. They started it off with some information on Battlefield 1, a new map pack coming later on this month. What do you think of this one? It's an all-night map pack. Should be an interesting one, don't you think?
Well, from what we've seen on some preview gameplay of the map pack, it looks very, very challenging and a lot more creative, and the possibility of weather in the future they were discussing would make it even more challenging. They didn't want to make it too challenging. They're focusing a lot this time on strictly in the trenches. There is a tank on either side available, but it's mainly trench work.
And I expect that that it is going to be an awesome challenge. I don't own Battlefield 1, and I'd really like to own it, and this was definitely a selling point for me, because I don't think in any shooter game we've ever seen a map pack where it's done at night, have we?
Call of Duty kind of dabbled in it with zombies, but they didn't really make a full-fledged attempt towards it.
Mm-hmm. And another thing they announced for Battlefield 1 is a new DLC that's supposed to be coming out. I think they said in September for it, where it's all going to be set in on the East Coast, like Russia, Japan, all them places. Kind of expect some new missions perhaps out of that. What do you think?
Well, with that, they mentioned that there was going to be like 8 new maps that were coming with it in that big package, and new guns, new all kinds of things.
Yeah, I kind of would like to see more campaign missions. That's something most shooters haven't done, is add to the campaign that you're doing right now, which I think that would be really interesting to see. Also, they talked about the new Need for Speed Payback, which to me it has a combination of Burnout, Grand Theft Auto. I can't think of anything else. Can you think of anything else that would have added onto it?
Well, the new Need for Speed, it's basically a mix of every single racing game you've ever seen, plus Grand Theft Auto, of course, and it just looks like a phenomenal game. I can't wait to try it myself. It's going to be one hell of a blast. There's 3 different characters with all different styles in it for driving and abilities. So it looks like they're going the Grand Theft Auto rate, but keeping with the original racing style.
Yeah, another game that had actually just popped into my head was Driver. It feels like it's going to be a lot like that too, but there's probably still going to be some sort of an emphasis on the street racing side of it. But there are going to be things like you can do heists and things like that. You're probably going to be the wheelman for every heist, but I think it's going to be a blast to play regardless. Another game that they announced was A Way Out. This is like a prison break style game, mixed with a bit of Last of Us, some Uncharted kind of feeling in there. This is definitely a game that deviates from the norm for one thing, because I don't think any game company has ever tried to do a prison break story.
Well, I see that Grand Theft Auto tried, but the way that they made this a way out game, like from what we've seen, it's way different, but similar in a lot of ways. You got two separate characters. They both enter the prison. It seems like they become friends. They find a way to break out, and then it shows their continuing life afterwards.
Yeah, and the one thing that really struck a chord with me is the fact that it's going to be strictly co-op gameplay. In this day and age, it's very hard to come, and it's local co-op or online co-op. And in this day and age, you hardly ever see local co-op play. And because RS and I like to do a lot of co-op gameplay, we're basically stuck with mostly sports games to do that. And this is definitely a nice change of pace for a guy like us. Even if it does get like shitty ratings, I still think I'm gonna pick it up for us to give it a shot. You know.
Honestly, from what I've seen, I don't see a shitty return on that. I see a lot of people purchasing it that are right into the Grand Theft Auto. I'm pretty sure everybody that plays Grand Theft Auto is going to branch over to it, as well as quite a few other places. It just looks like an all-around excellent game.
And on that note, we're gonna move over to Battlefront 2, which was the heavy focus for EA this year around for their press conference. Lots of stuff, lots of information they gave out. Some new map packs coming out, some new weapons. I think they announced new characters that we're gonna see in the game. This game just looks phenomenal. It kind of reminds me, like we were watching some of the online play and we were watching the dogfights, and it kind of reminded me of Battlefield One. Kind of a confusing Battlefront Battlefield. um, but the one thing that I think sold me the most on it was the fact that they are gonna actually have a single player offline campaign mode, which the last game was lacking, and that was the biggest complaint coming from that game. What did you think of from watching the gameplay, RS?
Well, myself not being a very big Star Wars fan myself, I would actually pick it up and probably play it. It reminded me a lot of severe team deathmatch Call of Duty, but with Star Wars characters, but done way better.
Yeah.
You got air support attacks, you got ground attacks, you got individual character attacks. The guy playing Darth Maul on there was just whooping everybody.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was just going to town on everyone. But yeah, at least I'm noticing too that I noticed when we were watching that online gameplay is that there's online missions essentially that you can do with your characters. There's a multitude of different classes that you can put your characters in. I don't think they mentioned a number as to how many classes were, but it looked like there, by my count, at least over 30 classes to choose from.
Well, from what I've seen, it was like the four initial classes, and then you buy your heroes along the way,
Yeah.
which is creating even more classes. And each individual character on the game has its own upgrades,
hmm
up to like two or three different upgrades on top of it. So it's just making your characters even more phenomenally strong.
Yeah. And then another thing too, I kind of picked up on was when they were talking about the customization. It kind of made me think that you can go online with your own Star Wars character, and that would be actually really awesome to see that. What I want to hear though is local co-op online play. Like you and I can jump in an online match and play against, let's say, my brother in Toronto or something like that. Regardless, though, EA, there was a few stumbles that they had during their press conference. I mean, the NBA Live stuff did not intrigue me. FIFA 18 sort of intrigued me with their continuation of the career mode thing that we talked about. Um, but other than that, EA kind of a strong outing, but not as strong as say what Microsoft is probably going to do tomorrow. or what Sony's got in stock. I mean, Microsoft got Project Scorpio. What do you expect to hear out of the news for Scorpio tomorrow?
I expect to see a lot of gameplay, probably with the Scorpio, promoting the Scorpio. I'm not too sure of too many games that may be coming out. They're probably going to promote the new Call of Duty like usual. Um, there's not really a whole lot knowing from Microsoft, so we'll get to see how things progress anyway.
Yeah. And then going into Monday, we've got basically what's going to be the main event for us because we own a PS4 at the moment. So, what Sony has to announce on Monday night is going to be the clincher for us. Essentially, I mean, they're going to talk about Days Gone for sure is going to be there. Last of Us 2, we're expecting maybe some Final Fantasy 7 information. We haven't received information on that game in almost a year and a half. It'd be nice to hear something out of that. What do you think?
Yeah, there's most definitely going to be a lot that's already been somewhat stricken upon for PS4. But being that I used to be an avid Xbox player myself and I recently switched to PlayStation, I do miss Xbox, but I find there's a lot more content on PS4, and as well as all these press releases today, there is a lot of free content available right now on PS4 Store.
That's right too. They announced EA announced that there's going to be a couple of free trials coming out. What was in that list? There was the first Battlefront will be there. Plants vs Zombies, Madden 17, and I think FIFA 17 were all announced. But I expect during this week that there's going to be far more as far as free content goes on the PSN, the Xbox Store. I wish I could say the same thing for Nintendo, but the Nintendo Switch Store won't be launched till next year. I think we announced last week on that one. Yeah, we as a little programming note, folks, we are going to be doing a midweek episode to cover everything else that E3 has presented to us because we have the Microsoft conference tomorrow. Ubisoft or Bethesda are tomorrow too. I think they're both tomorrow. We got Sony doing a press conference on Monday as well.
Tuesday's Nintendo.
And Tuesday morning, Nintendo will be doing their. They don't like to call it a press conference, but let's face it, it is a press conference. They just call it basically what EA called theirs today. They called theirs EA Play, but they called theirs the Switch Emporium or something like that. It's just it's a press conference. But that's going to do it for us here for the weekly roundup. I'm CB. This is RS. Stay tuned. Perhaps Wednesday, maybe late Tuesday, we'll have the next episode for you. And have a good week, folks, and enjoy E3.